like to again thank our panelists for all the professors and the specialist panelists, as well as Madame Quoc and Senator Ngo for putting together this conference for all of us to come together and share our concerns, and also maybe come up with solutions on how not only to help the victims from the disaster of Formosa in Vietnam, but more importantly, since we live here, how is it that we can ensure the safety of our seafood products imported from Vietnam? So to start with that, this is the second in the series, and I will explain to you our thought process of how this conference came about. Our discussion will demonstrate a representative case of the $10.6 billion steel plant that was owned by Formosa Hatting Steel Corporation. From now on, we'll call Hatting Steel. So in April of 2016, an estimated 115 tons of fishes and sea life were washed ashore among the more than 200 kilometers of central coast of Vietnam. This was by far the worst environmental disaster in Vietnam's current history. And interestingly enough, the event happened and local people knew about it, but the Vietnamese government press did not want the rest of the country to know. But the reason the world knew about it was through Facebook and social media. People took pictures, posted on Facebook, and within a very short amount of time, the news was spread like wildfire throughout the entire world. So since the disaster, many people in Vietnam rallied to protect the environment and to help the victims. Many rallies have taken place throughout, not only in Vietnam, but through cities in the world, especially in Canada. Senator Ngo and Madame Quoc and Mr. Kinley have held many rallies to support the victims from the disaster. And the Vietnamese state initially ran a propaganda campaign to quell protests and discredit the protesters. After months of public outcry taking international media and social media by storm, Hatton Steel Corporation publicly apologized for its toxic waste dumping, which included phenol, cyanide, carbolic acid, and ferrous hydroxide, according to state and international media. Hatton Steel Plant then paid the Vietnamese state $500 million to help the victims of the affected fishing communities, and also to correct the waste treatment facilities at the Hatton Steel Plant. However, since then, the victims have still not been adequately compensated for the loss of livelihood and dislocation. According to the Vietnamese government's report, the disaster has harmed the livelihood of approximately 200,000 people, including 41,000 fishermen. Specifically, the hardest hit areas included Hatton, Quang Binh, Quang Tri, and Thi Huế, which are the cities in central Vietnam. Furthermore, there is very limited independent international surveillance, if any, to ensure that the appropriate measures were taken to clean up or to prevent future similar disasters in Vietnam or elsewhere. As an example, we go back to the history of Formosa. In 2009, Formosa Plastic Corporation was fined by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for toxic waste contamination of soil and water in 2 petrochemical plants in Texas and Louisiana, with volatile organic compounds including chlorinated hydrocarbons, EDC, and byproducts, chloroform and benzene. As you know, these are all very heavily toxic agents. In 1998, nearly 3,000 tons of toxic waste, including mercury, were dumped by Formosa Plastic in Cambodia in a field close to the southern port of Siem Reap, Cambodia. So last year, in May of 2017, the organization Vietnam for Progress held its first international conference on the topic of legal remedies and environmental impact of toxic waste dumping in the South China Sea. This was held in the U.S. Senate in Washington, D.C. with bipartisan support. We got the support from multiple senators from both parties and also congressional members. That conference was a call to action regarding, one, the legal implications of exploring international criminal court and civil litigation options, and number two, current legislation on products being imported to Australia, the European Union, and North America, meaning the US and Canada. The conference was very widely attended and got a widespread audience in Vietnam and overseas with at least, like we said, 750,000 views on Facebook through Voice of America reporting. In August of 2017, the United States government, after our conference, adopted a new regulation based on the previous U.S. Agricultural Act of 2014, and as an example, directed all of the Vietnamese catfish shipment from the U.S., from Vietnam to the U.S. Food Safety and Inspection Services Agency for re-inspection before being sold to American end consumers. In effect, since September of 2017, all 100% of catfish import products from Vietnam were inspected by the FDA and the FSIS instead of the usual 3 to 5%. Likewise, the European Union also tightened inspection on the importation of seafood products from Vietnam from October 17, and now extend the warning period to Vietnam until 2019. So the other incidences of toxic waste dumping in Vietnam solely in the year of 2016 reached 50 cases throughout the country of Vietnam, and this was noted by the Vietnamese Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. So last year during our conference, Dr. Malika Bekaduso actually was able to bring up very interesting topic regarding the responsibility of state country and how they can bring such action of disaster and toxic waste dumping to the International Criminal Court. And then in the conference also, Dr. Heather was able to talk to us about how minimal the amount of inspection was performed in the U.S. at that time, which is only between 1 to 3% and only up to 5% of the fishes imported from Vietnam to the U.S. So after that conference, we were very concerned about that, and her, actually the portion of the conference that was done by her was viewed by a lot of the Vietnamese people from Facebook and also of the international community through the website as well. Therefore, it brought about this question for us: how safe is it for us to consume the fishes from Vietnam? And therefore, this year, because we want to hold a conference in Canada, we posed a question to the Canadian public and also the Canadian government: how safe is your fishes are your fishes coming from Vietnam? How safe is the seafood product that you import from Vietnam coming to your table? How do you feel about the amount of maybe heavy chemicals or antibiotics in the seafood that you are eating today? And therefore, we have this conference today. Thank you.